We are here at the Z-Man Games booth with Mr. Ralph Anderson, designer of Chimera. Ralph, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Joel. Really happy that you're able to do this, and I'm really excited about finally having a game published. It really is quite a treat to have people playing your game. So anyway, Chimera is a 3-player only game, cutthroat game, and the object of the game is to go out first, and by doing so you'll be able to score more points, or if you're not the player going out first, to prevent the player who's the declarer from going out, and then you can get some points that way as well.
Okay.
So you have competing 2 against 1 based on how the bid turns out each game.
Okay.
So it's a 54 card deck. Sorry. There's the suits, 4 suits, and now forget about suits because they don't matter in the game. They're there to count cards and to look pretty. But the cards go from 1 to 12. Then there's 4 cards that don't have a number, which are higher in rank than the 12. They're the heroes. Then you have the Pia and the Chimera. There are 2 Chimeras, but that's a lesser one and has a special function. And so that is the next highest and the highest cards in the game. So if we were playing single cards, a 1 would be beaten by any card up to 12, which would be beaten by an H, which would be beaten by the Pia, which would be beaten by that.
Okay.
So that's the rank of cards that way. However, that's not the only way to play cards, because what you're doing in this game is you're trying to get rid of all your cards, so you're playing them in combinations. So a legal combination would be, okay, if I start a trick with a single card, then every other card played until the trick is taken has to be another single card, and higher than what you played last. You could also play pairs, so I could play a pair of 3s, which would be beaten by a pair of 4s, and so on. Obviously, that's the highest pair, because these are only single cards. They don't go together as a pair. Okay, you can also play 3 of a kind. So I could have 3 3s, 3 4s, 3 5s, so on. I can also do stepped pairs, and this is the rule of 6. If you do stepped pairs, you have to have 2 3s, 2 4s, 2 5s, so at least 6 cards. If I do trips, I also have to have at least 6 cards, so 3 3s and followed by 3 4s is also a legal combination.
Now, is that at least 6 or exactly 6?
That's exactly 6, but I could have 3 5s on top of that, and then 3 6s on top of that.
Okay.
So it's a minimum of 6.
Okay.
Okay? So the rule of 6 will help you. Now, another thing you can do is, you know how you play 3 of a kind and you got a spare 8 or something laying around that you're going to have to lead later? Well, you can tack it on as an attached card. So I can play 3 of a kind with a single attached card, and of course I could play stepped cards like that. Now, I couldn't play another 3 as that card because I've already played 3s here. And if I played a 10 there, I couldn't put a 10 here because that would make a pair.
Okay.
So those wouldn't be legal.
So you kind of slough off your oddball
your
cards.
singletons, right. Your oddball cards, your singletons on those 3s of a kind with an attached card. There we go. Now, I could do it with attached pairs as well. So you can see already there's a lot of different ways to get rid of cards. So in addition to the single cards, the pairs, step pairs, trips, step trips, and then the trips with a single card or trips with a pair, you can also play a straight. A straight has to be at least 5 cards, and obviously 1 is the lowest you can go and 12 is the highest. So if you played a card, if you had 1 card each from 1 to 12, you could play that all at once. So it's at least 5 cards up to 12, and then the highest straight would go to 12 because these don't have a rank. So even though it beats it as a single card, it can't go there. It's not allowed. So the other thing that you can do with a straight is that the Pia has a special power. The Pia can be used to substitute for 1 card. So now I can make that straight up to 12 by using that as an 11. Okay? So that's an extra thing it can do. Unlike in Tishu, which is a related game, it's not the same, but it's a 4-player partnership game. There's a card that's similar to this, and it can fit in as a straight, or it can also pair cards, but it can't do that in this game.
Okay.
That's a difference from Tishu. Okay, another thing you have is the highest thing you can play is 4 of a kind. So if I play, and I can play that on anything. So if I had this nice straight that I played, then another player on their turn, not out of turn like in Tishu, they could play 4 of a kind to beat that trick. So that's the only time you can play something different than that sequence, is when you're playing a 4 of a kind. Now, the biggest 4 of a kind, let's say they trump that, is the pair of these. That's called a Chimera Flight because it's both chimeras, and it beats that.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the highest, and that's the highest that can be played. So this is the highest trap, a 4 of a kind, but this would beat that.
Okay.
Okay? So you can also play 4 of a kind and attach 2 single cards or attach 2 pairs, and that's also a legal way to play 8 cards all at once.
So with the 4 of a kind, you can do 2 attachments, but otherwise you can only do 1.
Right. And the attachments can be either a single card or a pair of, okay? So you get to double up. Now, once you attach cards to 4 of a kind, it's no longer a trap. So it's only this. So somebody would have to play a bigger one of these in order to beat it, or this trap will now beat that.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Okay? So that's how that works. Okay, so how does this work in terms of scoring?
Right.
The way the game works, it's 54 cards. So what we're going to do when we deal, just to give you a very quick example, I'll just fake a deal here. The first thing you do is you cut the deck, and then you turn up that card onto the deck. You put 3 cards aside, then you deal out the cards, and whoever gets the face-up card, let's say that's even, okay? Whoever gets the face-up card will bid first.
Okay.
So in Tishu they have something called the Mahjong. Whoever has the Mahjong goes first. In this one, whoever has this card will bid first. The only bids are pass, 20, 30, or 40. So by bidding those points, you're risking those points that you're going to go out first. So if you don't make your bid, if you don't go out first, you're going to lose 20, 30, or 40. However, if you make the bid by going out first, you're going to score double that, plus you can get 25-point bonuses for 3 things. For every flight that's played, the Chimera Flight, for the 1 Chimera Flight that's played, you'd get 25. For every trap that's played, you would get 25 no matter who plays it. And if one of the 2 partners playing against you doesn't play a card, or if both of them don't play a card, it's the same thing. It's another 25 points. So you can get another 25, 50, 75, 100 points by declaring.
So it's always 2 versus 1. So whoever gets the bid card puts the bid out, and the other 2 try to trash them.
That's right. Now, the player who wins the bid also gets the kitty. So he gets those 3 cards that were set aside at the beginning of the deal. He gets those 3 cards, so he now has 20 cards. The other players, based on the bid, if they bid 20, they don't pass any cards. If he bid 30, they would each get to pass each other 1 card. They look at it and decide which card to pass.
Right.
And if 40, then they each get to pass each other 2 cards. Okay. And that's very powerful for helping stop this, because you can get a trap or something out of that very easily.
Right.
Because with the mix of cards and things, it's very interesting. So the play of the game then is you're going to do the bid. Based on the bid, you get a declare. The other 2 play against him. The declare will play first, which is a huge advantage when you're playing your sets.
Yeah.
And then he has to go out first.
Okay.
Now, one other thing. There are cards, the 11s, the Prosperity Cats, and the 2s, which are God knows where now. There we go. Which are the Fortune Toads. You'll notice the Fortune Toads are worth 10 points each, and the Prosperity Cats are worth 5 points each.
Gotcha.
So whoever wins the trick with those cards in them will score them at the end of the round.
No matter who you are.
No matter who you are, no matter what happened. Oh, sorry. So those always score. However, when someone goes out, the other people's cards are discarded. They don't count. The game ends immediately as soon as someone goes out. And if they just played a trick, like they played that 2, that would go into their trick cards that they took, and the hand is over, you score it up. Okay? And that's essentially all there is to Chimera.
Okay. Thanks, Ralph. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.